If you think walking into the grocery store today feels exactly like it did a few months ago, you have already missed the silent shift happening right in front of you. You are paying more every week for less, and the shelves are quietly reorganizing while you aren't paying attention. By the time June rolls around, most shoppers are going to feel the squeeze immediately, but by then it will be too late to react. This is no longer just about shopping. It is about whether you keep control of your hard-earned money or slowly lose it day by day. Today I'm going to walk you through 10 specific grocery items you must stock up on before June 1st, 2026. Not to panic, but to protect yourself while the window is still open. And I have to warn you, item number 7 on this list completely caught me off guard, and it is the one changing the fastest. Watch until the end because the old prices are not coming back. 1 ground beef/beef cuts. If you want to know what is really happening to your grocery budget, look no further than the meat counter. It is becoming the new inflation scoreboard. Think about the same cut of beef you used to buy for around $12 this week. It could easily be $14 or more. And the dangerous part is not just that the price is rising. The dangerous part is that you begin to accept not buying it anymore. Why is this happening so fast? The underlying data is genuinely concerning. According to the USDA, wholesale beef prices in March 2026 were 19.7% higher than the exact same period last year. The root cause is a historic supply shock. The national cattle herd has fallen to its lowest level since 1951. But there is a hidden cost you do not see on the shelf. Cattle feed accounts for more than 60% of total production costs. Because feed is so expensive, ranchers are actually slaughtering cattle earlier than usual, not because there is an abundance of meat, but because keeping the animals on the farm for a few more months means losing money. Here is how this plays out in the real world. You will not see empty shelves in the beef aisle. The shift does not look like a shortage, it looks like a change in your own behavior. You still go to the grocery store, you pick up that familiar package of ground beef, you look at the new price, and you quietly put it back. Beef does not disappear first. What disappears first is your choice. Do not let inflation force you to give up the meals your family loves. You need to act now, because farm-level cattle prices are projected to keep increasing throughout 2026. Here is your exact strategy target: ground beef, chuck roasts, stew meat, and steak family packs. Wait for a store sale, buy in bulk, divide the meat into smaller portions immediately, and freeze them. You are not hoarding, you are simply locking in today's price before the window closes. 2 coffee. If beef gets too expensive, you can always switch to chicken. But if your morning coffee suddenly costs half as much more tomorrow, what are you going to do? The hard truth is you will probably just grit your teeth and pay for it. Your morning coffee is no longer a cheap ritual, it is a daily necessity that retailers know you are not willing to give up. Right now, the price you are seeing on the grocery shelf is a comfortable illusion. Behind the scenes, the commodity price for raw green coffee beans practically doubled between 2023 and early 2026. Severe weather disruptions, including prolonged droughts and frosts in major producing countries like Brazil and Vietnam, have drained global inventories to historic lows. And here's the detail most people completely miss: a coffee tree takes 3 to 5 years to produce stable yields. This means the supply cannot just bounce back next season. The shortage is structurally locked in. The only reason your grocery bill hasn't skyrocketed yet is that roasters and retailers have been burning through old inventory to keep you from getting sticker shock at the shelf. But that protective buffer is rapidly running out. Industry analysts project that retail prices will surge by 20% to 40% in the second half of 2026. And unlike other groceries, coffee demand is incredibly inelastic. You will not stop drinking it. Your mornings will look exactly the same. You will wake up, brew your usual pot, and quietly accept that your cost of living has been pushed up again. You will not be buying anything extra, but at the end of the month, your bank statement will show you are paying a heavy premium just to maintain the exact same routine. Do not wait for the shelf prices to jump. You need to lock in today's price right now. I highly recommend buying a 3 to 6 month supply of your regular coffee this week. Prioritize whole bean or vacuum-sealed packages. Here is the trick. Put those sealed bags straight into your freezer. Properly sealed, whole beans will hold their absolute best quality in the freezer for 6 to 12 months. Lock in the price of your daily sanity today before that 40% increase turns your morning comfort into a financial burden. 3 chocolate. Let's look at item number 3, chocolate and cocoa products. The next time you are at the grocery store, I want you to try a simple test. Pick up the standard chocolate bar you always buy, but do not look at the price tag yet. Just hold it in your hand. Does it feel just a little bit lighter to you? That is not your imagination playing tricks on you. You might not see a massive price jump on the label, but that is because manufacturers are quietly shrinking the product to hide the real cost. Behind the scenes, the global cocoa market has been violently volatile. Extreme weather and erratic rainfall in places like the Ivory Coast have severely damaged the cocoa harvest. Because cocoa relies on very specific growing regions, commodity prices have seen massive spikes, sometimes surging 30% to 40% almost overnight. Furthermore, the USDA officially projects that the sugar and sweets category will rise by another 8.1% throughout 2026. Candy companies cannot absorb these massive supply chain hits. Instead, they keep the price exactly the same but legally shave ounces off your favorite treats. Now, chocolate is obviously not a survival food, but it is a comfort food. It is the small reward you give yourself after a long, exhausting day, or the little joy you buy for your kids. The harsh reality we are stepping into is that chocolate has stopped being a cheap comfort food. You are paying the exact same amount of hard-earned money, but the amount of product you get in return is being systematically reduced. So, how do you protect this little piece of normalcy? Stop buying the single-serve candy bars at the checkout lane. You need to shift your strategy to the baking aisle. Open your pantry right now and take inventory. I highly recommend stocking up on core ingredients immediately: pure cocoa powder, high-quality dark chocolate bars, and baking chocolate chips. These staples have a long shelf life when stored correctly. By securing these raw ingredients, now you give yourself the ability to make your own comfort foods at home, completely bypassing the shrinkflation trap and protecting your wallet from that incoming 8.1% price hike. 4 canned tomatoes. This one feels almost too simple to mention, and that is exactly why most people are going to miss it. You probably walk down the canned goods aisle, look at those cheap, familiar red cans, and think, at least this is still safe. But the truth is, the cheap red sauce in your pantry is quietly becoming a tariff and climate story. And the financial shock is not happening instantly. It has a delay. Here is what is happening behind the scenes. Fresh tomatoes imported from Mexico have been hit with tariffs of around 17%, which has contributed to pushing fresh prices up dramatically. But the real issue for your pantry starts in California, which produces the overwhelming majority of processed tomatoes sold in American supermarkets. The 2025 growing season in the Central Valley faced severe challenges with extreme heat stress and strict water allocation constraints. Now, here's the most important detail: that kind of agricultural supply pressure does not show up at your grocery store the next day. It takes 6 to 12 months for it to work its way through the processing pipeline and finally hit retail pricing. What you are seeing on the shelves right now is the calm before the storm. If you track the data on standard 28-ounce cans, you will notice a consistent pattern of quiet price increases, just 3% to 5% here and there. But by this summer, analysts expect those price hikes to become painfully visible. Do not wait until August to realize you are paying 40 cents more for the exact same can of tomatoes that was sitting on the shelf in March. Your defense strategy is simple: buy canned tomatoes, concentrated tomato paste, and marinara sauce right now. My strict recommendation is to buy a full case of 24 cans, or at least grab the multi-packs before the end of May. Opting for the store brand is a perfectly fine way to keep your costs down. Store them in a dark pantry and they will easily last for years. You are not hoarding, you are simply shopping smart with a longer time horizon. 5 frozen vegetables. Let's look at item number 5, frozen vegetables. Stop looking at the fresh produce aisle as just a place to buy food. Right now, it is acting more like a highly volatile stock market. Last week, the prices felt normal, but this week, you could easily see a 20% to 50% jump just because of one unseasonable storm. The volatility in the fresh market is staggering. Farm-level prices for fresh vegetables recently spiked as high as 49% compared to last year, driven by extreme weather disruptions in major growing areas like California's Salinas Valley, as well as Florida and Georgia. Because fresh produce has an incredibly short shelf life, the system has no buffer. You have zero time to prepare for these price jumps. You simply walk into the store and realize you are paying significantly more. To escape this chaos, shoppers are retreating to the frozen food aisle. But here is the ticking time bomb most people do not see. The processing and freezing infrastructure requires massive amounts of energy, labor, and packaging, all of which have become far more expensive. Right now, retail prices on frozen vegetables are still relatively stable because large brands are quietly absorbing these costs to maintain their market share. But that protective window is slamming shut. Industry insiders are openly signaling that a massive repricing across the entire frozen vegetable category is coming in the second half of 2026. Think about the guilt of buying expensive fresh vegetables only to watch them wilt and rot in your fridge. It is literally throwing money away. Frozen vegetables eliminate that waste, giving you peace of mind and complete control over your budget. Your strategy here is all about buying flexibility. I highly recommend heading to Walmart, Costco, or your preferred retailer and buying the largest bags available to get the best value per ounce. Stick to highly versatile staples that your family will actually eat: frozen broccoli peas, corn, spinach, and mixed vegetables. Skip the exotic options you rarely use. The freezer aisle is your last remaining shield against the chaos of the fresh produce market. Lock in today's prices right now before those hidden energy costs push inflation straight into your freezer later this year. 6. Fresh produce. Let's move to item number 6. Fresh produce, specifically items like tomatoes, bell peppers, limes, and avocados. If your family regularly makes fresh salsa or enjoys Taco Tuesdays, you need to pay close attention to this category. We usually look at the fresh produce aisle as just a place to buy food, but right now, your favorite fresh ingredients are quietly turning into a direct receipt for border policies and transportation costs. Fresh vegetables and fruits are actually the most unpredictable items in the entire grocery store. A massive portion of the fresh produce Americans consume is imported from Mexico, and market sources are currently tracking how these specific items are facing severe pressure from tariffs and rising freight expenses. In fact, fresh tomatoes have already become a clear example of this, with new tariffs contributing to significant price hikes. Furthermore, most of the fresh produce you buy does not come from nearby farms. It travels hundreds or even thousands of miles before reaching your local store. Because fresh produce has an incredibly short life cycle, there is absolutely no buffer in the system to absorb these financial shocks. Any increase in fuel costs, transportation issues, or border disruptions will cause retail prices to react almost immediately, giving you zero time to prepare. Last week, the prices might have felt completely normal, but this week, you could easily walk in and see a massive jump in the cost of your avocados or bell peppers. However, my instruction for this specific category is entirely different from the rest of our list. Do not panic and absolutely do not stockpile these items. Stockpiling fresh produce is a terrible idea because it will just rot in your fridge, which means you are literally throwing your hard-earned money away. Instead, your strategy here is simply to buy ahead for the week. Calculate exactly how many tomatoes, limes, and bell peppers your household will actually consume in the next few days and buy only that specific amount. This approach allows you to navigate the unpredictable price jumps intelligently while completely avoiding wasteful spending. You are not hoarding, you are just making a highly calculated purchase to protect your weekly grocery budget. 7. Seafood. And now we have finally arrived at item number 7. This is the exact item I warned you about at the very beginning of the video, the one that completely caught me off guard. When beef and chicken get too expensive, most shoppers think they are being incredibly clever by pivoting to seafood to save their grocery budget. We mentally treat the seafood section as our last safe refuge for affordable, high-quality protein. But the harsh reality is that this refuge is collapsing fast. According to the USDA and industry coverage, seafood prices are projected to increase much faster than their historical average throughout 2026, with the CPI for fish and seafood already jumping 1.5% in April alone. But the reason why is what makes this so alarming. The global seafood supply chain is being crushed by invisible forces. Most shoppers never think about strict global fishing quotas, surging international demand, and massive fuel costs for commercial fishing fleets. When you buy fish right now, you are not just paying for the food, You are paying a premium for the thousands of gallons of expensive diesel required to send those commercial boats out to sea. This feels like the ultimate betrayal for the budget-conscious shopper. You already gave up your favorite cuts of beef to save money, only to find out your budget-friendly backup plan is under attack. The industry is adjusting quietly to these costs. Across the broader seafood category, brands have even started utilizing shrinkflation, reducing the actual weight of the product in the package before raising the sticker price, hoping you won't notice until it is too late. Once the masses realize meat is unaffordable and blindly flood the seafood aisle, these current prices will evaporate. Here's your exact action plan. Skip the fresh seafood counter entirely where prices are volatile. The freezer aisle is going to be significantly cheaper than waiting at the seafood counter. Head straight to the freezers and stock up on frozen salmon, cod, tilapia, and shrimp. Your freezer is essentially a time machine that lets you lock in yesterday's prices. Secure this critical protein source for your family today before the last real bargain in the store becomes the next luxury item. 8. Cooking oil. Let's move on to item number 8, olive oil and cooking oils. If you walk down the baking aisle this week and see a yellow sale tag on a bottle of oil, you might breathe a sigh of relief. You might think the chaotic 2-year-long cooking oil crisis is finally over. Think again. The cheap lower-tier oils might be making a temporary return to the shelves, but the high-quality bottle you actually want to cook with may never return to its old price. Here is what is really happening behind the scenes. Devastating poor harvests across major producing regions like Spain, Italy, and Greece have crushed the supply of high-quality extra virgin olive oil, pushing prices to shocking levels. But the real trap is the substitution effect. When premium olive oil became completely unaffordable, millions of shoppers blindly switched to cheaper alternatives like canola and sunflower oil. What happened next? That massive shift in consumer behavior instantly created supply pressures for the substitutes, pushing the prices of those basic oils up as well. This creates a painful psychological trap, the forced downgrade. The pain is not just that you are losing money. The pain is realizing you are now paying yesterday's premium prices for today's lower-tier substitutes. Cooking oil is the foundation of almost every single meal you make. When you are forced to downgrade your oil to save money, you are secretly downgrading the flavor and quality of your family's entire dinner. My instruction for this category is going to break the rule we have followed so far: do not buy in massive bulk. Oils eventually go rancid, so hoarding is a terrible idea and will lead to wasted money. Instead, I want you to make a highly strategic purchase. Buy just 1 or 2 large containers like the value-sized gallon jugs of the highest quality extra virgin olive oil you can afford before summer pricing kicks in. Most importantly, prioritize oils packaged in dark bottles to protect them from light degradation. Keep them stored in a cool, dark spot away from your stove. The goal here is not a bunker full of oil. The goal is to lock in a fair price for a high-quality foundation for your cooking before you are forced to permanently lower your family's standards. 9. Canned vegetables, beans, and seafood. Let's move on to item number 9, canned vegetables, canned beans, and canned tuna. I want to completely change the way you look at the canned goods aisle. When most shoppers want to save money or build a reliable emergency pantry, this is exactly where they go. You walk down that aisle looking at those perfectly stacked, cheap, familiar metal cans, and you probably think this is one of the safest, most stable categories in the entire grocery store. It doesn't spoil easily, it doesn't require complex cold storage, and most importantly, it has always been synonymous with budget shopping. But if you look closely right now, the price of canned goods is changing in ways that most people do not understand. And that is because this category is not becoming more expensive because of the food inside. It is rising because of what you cannot see, the metal packaging itself. When you pick up a cheap can of corn or green beans, you naturally assume you are paying for the agricultural product. But that is an illusion. You are actually paying a premium for the metal container. Recent tracking from the AARP and extensive analysis from the American Action Forum have highlighted a hidden crisis. Ongoing steel and aluminum tariffs are significantly driving up the cost of everyday canned goods. Producing these metal cans requires massive amounts of heavy industrial energy. When global energy prices rise, which often happens during periods of international instability, the cost to manufacture the packaging increases immediately. Furthermore, global conflicts and supply chain tensions directly affect the availability and transport of these raw metals. Because of long-term manufacturing contracts, there is usually a delay in how these tariffs and energy spikes affect the consumer market. But that protective delay is now over. The invisible tax is currently hitting the retail shelf. The food inside isn't the only thing getting expensive. The can is a massive part of the bill. As costs rise, producers have absolutely no choice but to adjust prices. What used to be something you bought for ultimate peace of mind is slowly becoming a financial burden you have to think about. Your defense strategy here is incredibly simple, but it requires acting before the summer pricing fully takes over. Stop buying single cans. When you see a sale, you need to buy canned beans, corn, and soups by the full case. Secure the food now, before the escalating cost of the metal packaging pushes these budget staples out of your reach. 10 cereal crackers and dry grains. Finally, we arrive at item number 10, cereal crackers and pantry grains like dry pasta and rice. This is the perfect category to end our list with because it represents the most dangerous type of price hike of all. The boring middle aisles of the grocery store are exactly where small, invisible increases quietly compound. With pantry grains, there is no dramatic weather shock. There is no sudden global shortage making headlines. Instead, the Bureau of Labor Statistics recently reported that cereals and bakery products are already up 2.6% year over year. This steady climb is driven by relentless underlying pressures, rising manufacturing expenses, increased baseline ingredient costs, and a broader consumer shift toward more expensive, cleaner label products. This is the ultimate definition of quiet inflation. You are not buying anything luxurious. Your shopping cart looks exactly the same, but your grocery bill just keeps bleeding cash every single week. But there is a second, even more critical reason. You need to secure these dry goods right now. You might think this is the most stable category because the shelves always look full. However, the modern grocery distribution system operates on a just-in-time continuous flow model. It does not rely on massive deep reserves in the back room. That means full shelves only mean that products are being delivered just in time for you to buy them. When any sign of instability appears, whether it is a supply chain hiccup or an economic scare, consumer behavior changes instantly. People do not wait. They rush to stock up. Because there is no deep inventory, the moment a wave of panic buying begins, the flow is drained. You can walk into a store one day and see full shelves, and within just a few days, those basic items completely vanish. Not because they are rare, but because everyone needed them at the exact same time. To stop this quiet drain on your budget and protect yourself from just-in-time shortages, you must lock in your household staples immediately. Stock up on oats, cereal crackers, rice, and flour right now while prices still feel relatively normal. So here's the pattern that ties all 10 of these items together. We are living through a period of persistent supply disruption. The people who do not pay attention are the everyday shoppers who will walk into the store this summer and feel the financial shock without understanding why. But that is not going to be you. The goal is not a bunker full of supplies. The goal is looking back 12 months from now and realizing your grocery bill did not spike because you made smart moves in May of 2026. If this video gave you actionable information, please hit the like button and subscribe. Leave a comment telling me what you are stocking up on, and stay tuned for next week's video about a household product category about to skyrocket in price due to an 18-month-old supply chain issue. Be smart out there, and I will see you next time.